Okay, welcome to this section 23 of A.L. Basham's The Bodhisattva in Dabari, A-level religious studies Buddhism anthology work. He says, "Indeed, nothing is difficult after practice. Simple folk, such as porters, fishermen, ploughmen, for instance, are not overcome by depression, for their minds are marked by the scars of many pains with which they earn their humble livings, with which they have learned to bear. How much the more should one be cheerful in a task of which the purpose is to reach the incomparable state where all the joys of all beings, all the joys of the bodhisattvas are to be found. Consciousness of sorrow and joy comes by habit. So, if whenever sorrow arises, we make a habit of associating with it a feeling of joy, consciousness of joy will indeed arise. The fruit of this is a contemplative spirit, full of joy in all things. So the Bodhisattva is happy even when subjected to the tortures of hell. When he's been beaten with canes or whips, when he's thrown into prison, he feels happy. For this was the resolve of the great being, the Bodhisattva. May those who feed me win their joy and tranquility and peace, and those who protect me honor me and respect me and revere me, and those who revile me, afflict me, beat me, cut me in pieces with their swords, take my life. May they perfect the sublime enlightenment, which such thoughts and actions and resolves he cultivates and develops, the consciousness of joys in his relations with all beings. And so he acquires a contemplative spirit, filled with joy in all things, and becomes imperturbable, not to be shaken by the deeds of Mara. From Shantideva's Shakamunukya, the Compendium of Doctrine. And here is a long list of the most gruesome tortures is omitted. So, what practice? So, what does Shantideva talk about in terms of practice? Indeed, nothing difficult after practice. Practice. Basham is quoting at length here Shantideva's Compendium of Doctrine, SS, is saying here that his practice reflects the idea of cultivation, development, cultivating, producing, in a sense, calling into existence. But what is the praxis? The praxis of Mahayana Buddhism. Well, to cultivate or bhavna normally appears in conjunction with another word, forming a compound phrase, such as chitti bhavna, the development cultivation of the heart or mind, or metta bhavna, some of the practices of the Bodhisattva. What is the practice of appreciative joy? Appreciative joy. There's a lot of reference to joy in this section. How much more the incomparable joy. Let me hold on a second. For some reason my battery not working. Battery charge. It's on, and it is charging. Okay. Better. Okay, let's carry on. How much more should be the cheerful task, the purpose to reach the incomparable state? All the joys of all being, all the joys of bodhisattvas. The feeling of joy, the consciousness of joy indeed arise. So this has been argued as one of the four final stages of the bodhisattva path or ideal developed in later Mahayana thinking. Practices developed by celestial bodhisattvas in the last state being the awareness of wisdom and compassion and joy is developed alongside the four immeasurables, a selfless joy for others. Perhaps this state can only be achieved in the celestial bodhisattva. Some argue These bodhisattvas aim at the joy of all beings. Mudita is a meditation that focuses on aiming to develop this, but maybe you can only develop it when you become a heavenly bodhisattva. This kind of sitting with appreciative joy is a practice similar, typically found after Samantha meditation, perhaps a jhana you go through, so, where you visualize people we're grateful for, appreciative of, picturing them happy, experiencing what brings them joy. You may have mantras. May you be happy. May your happiness continue. May your joy grow, and may you appreciate your joy. It means seeing the happiness of their dear and only child, and seeing, hearing that some person's qualities are esteemed by others. It talks about things going on. The person is already happy. Metta wishes that person to be happy. Mudita is a response to knowing that beings already are happy. We have this appreciative joy that is not just about happiness, but valuing good qualities. The practice may also involve visualizing those we dislike, don't appreciate, and extending towards them thoughts of good thoughts, visualizing oneself at a time of joy and saying something like, "May I be happy, may I feel joy, may I laugh, may I be joyful." So all of these practices are developed and articulated by Shantideva that have been developing in the previous centuries of Mahayana practice development. So what is this lost sutra that now gets referred to, saying about the practice of joy? Let's just quote it here a second. May oh, may they all obtain the joy of complete enlightenment. Okay, the text is suggesting a. So this practice might be more about visualizing those we dislike and don't appreciate, and extending the same towards them. A devotional practice that involves the cultivation of joy, and the practice of associating with a stimulus, a sorrowful response. What fruit? We talk about awaken the perfect. There's a description of the fruit, the joy of complete enlightenment, awaken to perfect and sublime enlightenment. What you fruit is something you cultivate. Shantideva is claiming this practice from this lost sutra involves practically helping those who are suffering in a sort of spiritual way. There are many practical benefits of meditation, it's claimed. Dalai Lama's book, The Universe in a Single Atom, and several research ventures have sought to show how actions and the resolves he cultivates and develops is useful, that the consciousness of this joy in relation to all beings is helpful, that acquiring a contemplative spirit filled with joy in all things makes us imperturbable. There's the fruit, to be not to be shaken by the deeds of Mara. We're less likely to be tempted. We're more resilient individuals. So what joy? Here we're having a description of the practice of meditation on love, metta, and joy. The Mudita finds its origin in part as visualization of our enemies and chanting joy for them. What awakenment? We are awakened to. What are we awakened to? Well, that is the final hope of all Theravada Buddhists was Nibbana. But Mahayana is not that. Remember, it's the same thing. It's rather now to become someone who can transfer merit by wishing all beings happiness and joy. So we can achieve merit transference for others, in a sense. What resolve? He resolves to cultivate. He resolves to cultivate. Contrasting the consciousness of to Theravada as the fifth skandha, rather consciousness in itself is empty in the Heart Sutra, made of parts and can be. What is the consciousness? Sorry, let me just highlight that. Green, let's go for green. The consciousness. The consciousness. What consciousness? Well, not the Theravada idea of consciousness, but more the Mahayana idea of sunyata, Nagarjuna's interdependence, dependent origination, Indra's net. What is consciousness? Well, it's made of parts too. What's spirit? What's this idea of spirit? A contemplative spirit filled with joy in all things. So the advantages here, what it's saying is that the Bodhisattva practice of cultivating joy here are claimed as being able to overcome suffering in general, but Mara in particular. Every religion in India seems to have a character like Mara, a devil in its myths. Mara appears to be based on a demon of Vedic literature named Namanchi. It appears in the Pali Canon himself and transformed in Buddhist texts to Mara, the god of death. In Buddhist demonology, Mara, here he is here, is a figure associated with death, dealing hostility, creating drought. Symbol of the evil one is Namanchi, threatening the welfare of mankind. Mara threatens not by withholding seasonal rains, but by withholding or obscuring the knowledge of truth, rather in Buddhism. So this was section 22, 23. Mara, the devil in Eastern ideas, variously understood that you could go and research.